Relax. You gotta just chill out, man.
Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curd Network editor Dave Schofield coming at you Tuesday night, 9 p.m., starting on time. You probably don't even know what to expect there, but where else would you rather be as a Steelers fan? And with me, as always, except when he's not, is my big brother Rich. How's it going, Big Bro Scho?
Oh, get in the fast lane, Grandma. The bingo game's ready to roll.
Yes. I'm so glad that we can celebrate the great legacy of Mike Lang. I'm sure you will have plenty of those for us tonight. We've talked about it a good bit. I know that was a big part of our childhood. You and I talked about that before we went on air. That's really what got us into hockey, wasn't it?
Yeah, the only reason I ever got or learned the game of hockey is because of Mike Lang.
Yep.
Our father was a big hockey guy growing up outside of Boston, and he always tried to teach me the game, and he'd watch on TV, try to explain stuff to me when I was little. I couldn't figure it out, had no interest. It took the Penguins getting to be a better hockey team. Honestly, it took them drafting Mario Lemieux. I started to get more into watching some games because they were beyond TV, and I loved Mike Lang.
Yeah.
Because I loved Mike Lang, I decided to watch more hockey. And because I decided to watch more hockey because I wanted to listen to Mike Lang, I had to learn the game. So,
and then you were watching more hockey, and then I needed to learn the game. I actually really started to understand hockey when I did a report on it in 7th grade. That's when I really started.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago when I was in 7th grade. So, hey, Steelers fans, we have some stuff to talk about. You know what? There's always stuff to talk about when it comes to Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm still excited because 2 weeks from tonight, the next time I sit down to talk to you in this chair, because Jeff loves how much to talk about. Next week, I'm going to be on location. I'm going to be with a different backdrop. Lord Billy, some time away from the family, but I'll still be here with you all next Tuesday night. But when I'm back in this chair with my sign behind, my flag behind us and everything, we'll be talking about hopefully potential moves that the Steelers made as the legal tampering period will have begun. We are that close to it. But even before that, I mean, that seems like no time at all to me. But even before that, something a lot of people are really into that I pay attention in case there's any big news, but I'm not as into it as most people, is the NFL scouting combine. Rich, how do you really look? Do you pay much attention to the combine, or do you just wait for someone else to tell you some highlights about what's going on?
I'll just be keeping on our Slack channel, as I'm sure Andrew Wilbar will keep us all updated.
Hopefully he does. Between him and Jeremy Betts, I want to hear what's going on, guys.
Exactly. So believe it or not, I went from being a guy that followed almost nothing at the combine to now I follow a little bit, but where I get my deep detail stuff is actually our guys. It's like, it's like, hey, I got a guy,
And honestly, Roy Countryman's another one. I follow his stuff. He does his Black and Gold Blueprint is with us for the off season, and then we'll see about past that. That's on our audio only channel. Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern is when you can get those. Sorry, 11 a.m. Pittsburgh Standard Time is when you can get those. He has a lot of great stuff about the draft. Jeff had Nick Farabaugh on for his Monday morning conversation for Let's Ride Monday. Great stuff there. Nick's another guy that's really into stuff with the combine. You can get a lot of great information if you don't watch it yourself, which I think I should know. I already have the article going, be ready to go. 3 p.m. on Thursday is when they'll start actually showing the workouts and everything. That's when it's scheduled to be, to have coverage on the field coverage about those kind of things. I'm not one that's going to sit there and watch the whole thing. I'm really not. It's not my thing, but some people are like, they don't want to sit and watch a whole football game. I'm like,
right.
That's what I do.
But
Some people can't watch golf. I can sit and watch golf all day.
Right. I'm guessing though, Dave, you're more like me. It's like what I look for then are the reports coming out of the combine, not watching the combine itself. I'm looking at the reports, different things people are saying about different guys, different things happening, and so I do get some info from the combine, but I don't get it by sitting and watching my way through the combine.
Yes. See, and it's funny because it's like, how do you feel about someone that might be projected to the Steelers right now? Like I've done, I know Rich can't stand mock drafts, but me covering the mock draft Mondays, there's some names out there that I'm interested that are going to see where they are. Some of those names, I'm just like, I don't want to hear them do anything overly amazing, outstanding that everyone's talking about in a good way or in a bad way. Because I don't want it to be in a good way where all of a sudden, they're going to be going in the top 12. And I don't want to hear it in a bad way. It's like, that's not someone you're going to do. I remember, I can't even remember the guy's name, and I don't want to bring him up and talk about it. There was it was a nose tackle out of I don't know what one. I remember it was a team that had some green with it. I don't think it was Oregon. I think it was Baylor. It was like a nose tackle out of Baylor a few years ago. Everyone's all about that for the Steelers. Well, he just did not have a good combine, didn't have a good – I think he ended up going in like the third round. There was people talking about the Steelers taking him in the first before any of this stuff went down. And I think he kind of fizzled. I think he's a guy that might even be available on the free agent list this year. You know what I mean? Something like that. So that's why I'm like, I don't try to get too up in arms with everything. And honestly, I had this conversation with someone because there's someone on the website. If you haven't checked it out yet, go make sure to check out steelcurtnetwork.com. Lots of great discussion, lots of stuff going on. But there's someone that's in there that keeps reiterating something. And I'm like, you're saying this the wrong way from the conversation that's going on here. I understand that you might have conversations other places, and then you take thoughts that other people have there, and you try to project them onto that's what people are thinking in these conversations. That's not always a wise thing to do. But it's talk about quarterback, which we're going to actually get to here pretty soon. Talking about quarterback and what the Steelers should do, what the Steelers shouldn't do. I don't really take what this person says a lot because they told me after the Steelers signed Justin Fields last year, they chose not to watch any Steelers games this year. I'm like, you care enough to comment on a Steelers website, but you confess you didn't watch any Steelers games? Yet they said Jameis Winston is who the Steelers should sign because I watched him play this year. And I'm like, so you were watching Browns games, but not Steelers games. Anyway, hey, Jared Neville, you even had the name right. That's right. It was the Ika. Yeah, that's who it was. Of that nose tackle I was talking about. But one of the things we're talking about was I'm like, don't force a quarterback in the 2025 draft if this is not the right place, if it's not the right draft and the right drafting location to do it. And they keep coming like people keep saying all these great things about the 2026 draft. I'm like, we're not saying anything about how great the 2026 draft is for quarterback. I don't even know. The only name that I know that could be associated with the 2026 draft is a Manning. I don't even know where he plays college football because I don't care because he's not in this year's draft. And I don't even know that he's going out in next year's draft. I'm like, it's not about next year's draft being great at quarterback. It's about this one not, right?
Hey, right now, Dave, I can tell you this. There is only one good thing about next year's draft.
It's in Pittsburgh.
It's in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's the thing. So and it's funny because Afton says 26 is better than this year for quarterback. Maybe. I still say maybe. Because of this. Here's my analogy. You might like this one, Rich. This is my analogy when it comes to quarterbacks in the NFL draft. It's like waking up in the morning and you're going to go golfing. You wake up, you check your phone, you check the weather. There's a 90% chance that it's going to rain in the next hour. You see the big green and yellow blob approaching on the radar. So you ask yourself, should I golf today? Let's see what tomorrow's weather looks like. Tomorrow's weather right now just says 40% chance of rain. So you know what I do? I change my tee time to the next day. Does that mean that the weather's going to be better tomorrow?
No, and it actually doesn't even mean that it's going to rain today because that thing could
just
stop
saying.
and fizzle before you
Yeah.
get there. So
Yeah, I'm just saying that that
Well, actually, Dave, if we're really talking about you and your luck,
yeah.
if once you change your tea time, all the weather apps on everybody's phone should go ahead and just change to 100%.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, I don't know that the weather's going to be better tomorrow. I just know the weather sucks today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I look at it for the draft class when it comes to 2025 versus 2026. I know some people are throwing out names. I'm like, guess what? I don't care. I really don't. I don't even care to remember the names. How many years ago was it? Who was it? Matt Barkley, going to be a top 5 pick. He chose to go back to college. He wanted to go back and have one more year at college. What round did he get drafted in?
I don't know, Matt
The
who?
4th. So, I mean, someone might look great right now that they're going to be great for next year, and then they're not. But there's also could be plenty of quarterbacks that you wouldn't even know that would be a NFL prospect next year, and it's going to pop up on everybody's radar. So I don't pay enough attention to this year's draft until the Steelers season is over to know that much about this year's draft. What makes me think I'm going to know diddly squat about 2026? So to me, it's like focus on what you can actually control now. And we're going to talk about quarterback here because Omar Kahn spoke. We got to get to it. That's what we're ultimately getting to. And to sum up what Omar Kahn said, he said a lot about the Steelers while really saying nothing.
Yes, but when Omar Kahn talks, people listen.
I listened. Oh, trust me. I just made sure before the show started, there was a thing that on Steelers Twitter, X, whatever it is, on their account where he did, it was about 4.5 minutes with Rob King. I'm like, oh, got to listen to that one too. Is it a lot of the same stuff? Yes, it was. He was on SNR. I didn't get to hear that one, but got to be a lot of good stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the quotes. Unfortunately, we don't have a transcript. They did it last year when Omar Kahn spoke, but for some reason, there's no transcript that I can get for this year. So I'm going to be pulling them from different places. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that Omar Kahn was speaking about, and we're just going to kind of break it down and say, was he really saying much, or was he really not saying anything? So you ready? You ready to get this going?
Yeah, we're waiting on Christmas. It's like
no. Here we go. Let's talk about the quarterback. Okay. I'm going to read this one. This is a tweet from Nick Faribault. It says, Omar Kahn says the Steelers will ideally, quote, sign one of Justin Fields or Russell Wilson before free agency. However, until that happens, all options are on the table for the Steelers at quarterback. Additionally, it was also said from other places that he said that they have talked to the camps of both players. So the question is, what was something that was actually said, and what was the nothing that was said? Is there much you can take out from that?
Okay, for me, what was actually said is it is nice to know that there has been talks with both quarterbacks that were on the roster last year, and Wilson and Fields, which to me then says, okay, we're going to look at those guys, potentially look at one of those guys at least. But what wasn't said is that we're actually going to get a deal done with one of those guys.
Yeah, because that's what it says. Ideally, sign one of Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. And here's the key: before free agency.
Yep.
So that means you're talking like next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or right leading up to free agency. Remember, the whole thing went down because remember, Russell Wilson was not the typical free agent. He was released, so he could sign with anyone before the start of the league year. That went down on Sunday, like Sunday evening. You remember that?
Yep.
Last year. So this could be now. So I mean, I know some people are like, "Why aren't the Steelers doing more?" There's all they can do now is either make a trade or sign their own players. If you're wanting the Steelers
or sign a guy that's on the street currently.
Yeah, like Donald, what is it? I can't say his name right. Parham?
But yeah,
I think it's something like
whatever.
that. Well, they signed him. Why did they sign that tight end? because he wasn't under contract with anybody. He wasn't on an expiring contract, which doesn't end until the beginning of the league year. He wasn't under contract anywhere.
Yep.
So he could be signed. So there's a reason you can make those kind of moves, and those are the only kind of moves that you can make. So to me, I thought it was significant that they said, I mean, our AR2 had said didn't see how they could keep both of them. I still think that makes sense. I like that he said that they would like to sign them before free agency. Now, what makes you think that maybe what he said was didn't really tell you anything? Because it says, however, until that happens, all options are on the table.
Yep.
But that's what you would hope, right?
Well, yeah, you'd hope there'd be lots of options on the table until you actually get something done.
Yeah. No stone left unturned until a stone is turned over. So that's anything else you want to say about quarterbacks before we go on and hit some of the other things that were said? Because remember, he mentioned all three. He said all three quarterbacks. So the big signing for Steelers fans could be that ahead of free agency, the Steelers bring back Kyle Allen. And
if that happens, let me just say that if that happens, look out, Loretta.
There you go. There it is. Yeah, with Steelers fans for sure. But I mean, honestly, I'd be fine with Kyle Allen as a backup quarterback. I have no problems with the Steelers bringing him back. No. If they bring him in and thinking that's going to be their number one guy, then that's the opposite of even running it back. That some people are upset that they feel that the Steelers are doing. Yeah, right now it still feels like the Steelers are running it back because they can't sign outside free agents until technically 2 weeks from tomorrow, but they can agree with terms 2 weeks from yesterday. All right, so let's hit another one.
That's what I love. Okay,
yeah.
So they say, not until whatever the day it is, the 12th. But really, honestly, it's the 10th because if you can agree to the terms beforehand, the only thing agreeing to the terms beforehand would allow you to do is the ever famous who did we do that with? That was
Tyson Alualu.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, there's going to be one of those pretty much every year.
Somewhere in the league,
agree to go somewhere, and then it's not going to happen. See, the team would never just back out; they would just have the person fail the physical. You know what I mean, or something like that. So, here's some. I'll ask you about this. Kyle Smith says this. He says, talking about bringing back Wilson at all concerns me. LOL.
Well, I don't know. See, to me, that depends on the larger plan.
Yeah.
See, if your larger plan is if Wilson comes back, then you would almost automatically think, okay, the Steelers are going to be looking in this year's or next year's draft for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's what you'd be bringing back Russell Wilson for basically a year. Sorry, Russ. That's all it would be. So,
well, I mean, the contract might be longer than a year, but it doesn't mean it's actually played out.
Yes.
Honestly, when it comes to Russell Wilson, here's the thing. And the reports are that's who AR2 wants. If that's really what AR2 wants, then I'm even questioning his football knowledge even more. Because, yes, we saw some great stuff from Russell Wilson early, but then teams figured it out. The Steelers didn't really change anything up, and his shortcomings came to light a lot. There are some people, like I know Mark Madden, he feels like, you know what? The Steelers are going to screw it up with Fields. They're just going to be stuck with Wilson and bring him back. That could very well be the case. The only way I'm going to get excited about Russell Wilson is, one, if they put a lot of weapons around him, and two, it's for a cheap deal. If he comes back where he's the one who's cheaper than Fields, then I would be like, oh, okay, I get why they did that. And you're really going to have to accentuate the positive. Because Rich, here's the deal. We got to remember this. We got to remember that moves are made, and we could be really frustrated with them of where they're going to be. And yet we're still going to cheer for that player when it comes around, unless you're one of those fans that would rather just be right than actually see the Steelers succeed. Because we've all heard this, that we've got to make sure that we hear it again.
Oh my gosh! Don't take Kenny Pickett.
Is that what
Don't
we're seeing?
take Kenny Pickett. You shut the front door. Gosh.
For those of you that this may be the first time hearing that, that's Jeff Hartman's reaction to the drafting of Kenny Pickett, that I compiled some stuff together from where we did that, which went to show you could not be excited about a draft pick, and yet you're still going to hope that that player succeeds when they're with the Steelers.
Correct. Now you were kind of talking about Russ, Dave, and I thought you bring up a good point in the fact that, Russ came out strong and teams figured him out as it went on. What I don't want to see happen with the Steelers next year is if Russ comes back and to basically just run that whole thing again, to where it's like Russ comes out, he starts the year good, they get him figured out, we don't make any adjustments, and at the end of the year, Russ just doesn't know whether to cry or to wind his watch.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you mean there. Is that 3 or did I miss one?
I think 3.
Okay, that's 3.
So.
Okay, so that's the I'm not. If I'm choosing now, that's not what I want at all. But at the same time, because I'm a Steelers fan and I want to see this team succeed, it's just that's what I want to see.
And look, it's not what I want to see, but I could still understand some of the thought process that would go into making that decision. Doesn't mean that I agree with it, but I do understand it.
Yeah. Not at $30 million.
No.
I don't want that. No.
Nope.
I don't want, that's the thing. That's the thing.
I'd rather trot Kyle Allen out there than Russell Wilson at $30 million.
Exactly. Because you can't cripple everything. Because if you're going to have Russ, then it's really about building up the rest of the team. Because Russ isn't going to suddenly get any better. That's the thing with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, we're not getting 26-year-old Russ.
Yeah.
No.
You know what you have in him,
right,
and you know the flaws, and you knew how down the stretch you couldn't overcome the flaws. Now, does Justin Fields have flaws? Absolutely. Does he have more flaws than Russell Wilson? Probably. Does he also have more upside as a player that's hopefully improving?
No.
Yeah.
No, not upside. Does he have more things at his age in his pocket to cover those things up?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's a great way to put it.
Yes. He has more that can cover some of those things up than Russ has at this point in his career.
Yeah. So to me, that's what I know what I would like, and I know what I would like to see the Steelers do. But I mean, some people are like Kevin Brokenborough. It says neither of them. I said, you can say neither of them, that's fine too, but you know what? There's not really any better options out there. So to me, at least
you better have a plan. Better have
a plan, because you don't want to see the Steelers dealing with quarterback this year like they did wide receiver last year. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So there we go. All right, we talked a lot about the quarterback. Let's hit another one. George Pickens. Was asked about George Pickens. Omar Kahn on George Pickens. This is Nick Fairbaugh again. As he enters the last year of his rookie contract, I had a really solid meeting with GP, and I can tell you that he has a desire to be great. He has a desire to be great here. We have a desire for him to be great and to be great here.
Well, you know what I have to say to that then, right?
What do you have to say about that?
Was Omar Kahn saying the following? Was he saying to get that man a beer and get his dog one too?
Yeah. It sounds like that. Sounds like that one. Bottom line is, to me, that sounds like the third option that not a lot of people are saying is it's not the option that's really being the focus of what the Steelers can do with George Pickens. They could extend him this offseason. They could trade him this offseason. Or the third option, you could just play out the final year of his rookie deal to try to get more data about what kind of player you're going to have in George Pickens.
And Dave, I'm going to say it again. I think that if that's the choice Omar Kahn makes with George Pickens, there's more to it than just that.
Yeah.
I think that if that's the case, Omar Kahn would sit him down, tell him that they were going to do that, but with this plan, and they would dangle the carrot in front of him.
Yeah. Yep. And to me, I would even say by dangling that carrot, this was something, I can't remember if this is you and I talked about it, or Greg or Jeff and Brian. I can't remember. I know I've said it on one podcast that if you offer George Pickens a deal, it could be a cheap deal to say, because of everything, this is what we think you could do. If you want to take it now, take it. But if you do this, and this, we're going to offer you this deal.
Yes. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's the whole dangle the carrot.
That's
what you and I talked about that.
So, okay. I'm on board with that. I'll be honest with you. I really have no freaking clue what they're going to do with George Pickens. I would not be shocked with any of it.
No.
I would not be shocked with any of it.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah. So, there you go. All right.
If news came out tomorrow that the Steelers traded him, it would not shock me.
It would not shock me. If the Steelers came out tomorrow and said that they extended him, that wouldn't shock me.
No.
If the Steelers came out tomorrow and said they extended him and he's now the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, that would shock me. Yep. It would take a lot to shock me, but that would be one of them. Okay. So here, one thing to kind of sum up these, because of George Pickens and quarterbacks, want to do one other thing. This one comes from Dale Lawley. It says Steelers GM Omar Kahn. Sorry, I got to make sure I pronunciate there. Yep. Said which quarterback the Steelers sign could affect what kind of wide receiver the team wants to add in free agency. To me, it's basically
you want to talk about saying something without saying anything?
Uh-huh.
To me, the only word that comes to mind when I read that one was duh.
Yeah. So
you can't put the cart before the horse.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. Here's me reading between the lines. You ready? They said which QB the Steelers signed could affect what kind of wide receiver they want to add in free agency. Now let's change up the words a little bit to actually tell the truth a little bit better. Not that what you say it wasn't true, but bring some more clarity to the story. Says that if the Steelers sign a quarterback, would affect their ability for wide receivers to add in free agency. I think that's important. What wide receiver wants to sign to come to Pittsburgh when you don't know the quarterback situation? That's why you got to try to figure it out before free agency.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. With that, anything else you want to say about that?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to hit some of the other position/players with some of the stuff from Omar Kahn. We'll have our big question at the end, and we'll have our 5 minutes of non-Steelers talk. For those of you that are paying attention or new from last week, we're going to do this on a rotating basis. 1 week I picked, that was 2 weeks ago. One week Big Bro will pick, that was last week. Then 1 week the live chat will throw out a suggestion for our 5 minutes of non-Steelers talk. You may do that at this time during this break, and we will pick one in order to do that segment in the second half. So if you're with us here live, we're not going anywhere. If you're with us here on the audio side, stick around. We'll be right back after these messages.
Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry, relax. Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry, relax.
All right, Rich, relax. Don't worry. Don't worry. We'll come up with with our 5 minutes of non-Steelers talk. Someone will hook us up in the live chat with something good eventually. So fire off those ideas so we can do that here coming up. Let's get back to more of what Omar Kahn said about some of these are specific to a player. Some of them are about a position. So we're just going to go through a few of them. Let's hit up running back updates. This is once again from Dale Lawley. Steelers GM Omar Kahn said that he has spoken to the agent for running back Najee Harris and that the door has not been closed on a return. Also said the team will tender restricted free agent Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, that wasn't saying a whole lot. Honestly, that's exactly where I would expect them to be at this point with the running back situation. If that wasn't where they were, I'd probably be more concerned if that wasn't where they were. That's exactly where they should be right now. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, come on. You can't just – you're not giving them the Devin Bush treatment. You're not saying, all right, go move on to your life's work or somewhere else.
Right.
You know, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. That's what's going on. That's, you know, like, they made no efforts to even sign Devin Bush for the minimum. And rightfully so. You don't do that with Najee Harris. I don't think you do that with Najee Harris. That's just that's the way I look at it. You at least have the conversation. You don't just, my goodness, you know, you hear rumors about the Steelers not even talking to one of their greats whenever they became a free agent, that they weren't even interested. I've heard rumors of other teams doing that. I can't think of anything specific right now, but I'm just not as good as that. So I said this, I know this was on the preview, when it comes to running back, my philosophy is threefold. You ready? Keep one, sign one, draft one. That's what I think they should do for this year. Hit them up. Okay? Keep one. Sounds like they're going to tender Jaylen Warren. To me, that's one. Don't even think you need to hold on to Cordell Patterson, even though he's under contract. You know, if you want to go out and sign one of free agency, just say you want to sign someone like a Nick Chubb or somebody else that might be a pretty big guy, that's fine. Then you draft one, and you don't have to worry about them even having to be the guy right away.
Yep.
That's just what I think. And it's a deep running back draft. You don't have to draft them high. You could draft them mid.
You could draft a day two somewhere would be fine.
Yeah. So, and it's funny, kind of like Doug P says, if they stop trying to run Najee outside, he'd be fine. I don't know if it's strictly outside. I just think the way that they try to block for Najee Harris, he's not it just feels like a square peg in a round hole with Najee Harris and what the Steelers, their philosophy of how they're wanting to run. It just doesn't fit. So to me, if you're going to bring back Najee Harris, you really need to consider your run scheme, changing it. Don't just bring in a player that doesn't, it's kind of like Ziggy Hood back in the day.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. That's another Ziggy Hood reference.
This is going to be a good comparison because you are totally correct. Yeah.
Because you draft a 4-3 defensive tackle into a 3-4, and then it doesn't work out. So my thing is, if you're going to keep Ziggy Hood after his rookie contract, which they didn't, if you're going to keep a player like that, guess what you really need to do?
Change to a 4-3.
4-3, you know? So if you're not doing that, when the personnel doesn't match what you're trying to do, it's not much different than wanting to run a lot of zone coverage and drafting a press man specialist. Or signing one or whatever to a big contract. That's the deal. You've got to do what the people that you are paying to do or spending high draft capital or high salary cap, have them do it. So to me, that's how it's kind of always felt with me and Najee Harris. Got to give a tip of the cap to the guy. Nobody in the history of the NFL has started more games in their first 4 seasons than Najee Harris. He's tied with Creed Humphrey, and that's because they went to 17 games. Okay.
Yep.
That's just that. I mean, that's just the way it is. Just because of that. He never missed a game. He never missed a start. He did miss some time in the middle of a game in his rookie year, some stuff like that. So I get it with running back. All right. Anything else you want to say there? You ready to hit the next one?
Nope. Go on.
This one probably won't take too long. Cole Holcomb update. This was Brooke Pryor of ESPN. Omar Kahn said linebacker Cole Holcomb would have been able to contribute if the Steelers had gone deeper in the playoffs.
Yeah, that might have been, to me, the most information we got in the entire press conference.
Yeah.
That I found that one the most interesting.
Yes.
That was cool to hear because, in my opinion, Omar doesn't make that statement if that statement's not true.
Yes. And if he was ready to contribute in the playoffs, that means he should be fully good to go come training camp. He is still under contract with the Steelers. He has a pretty decent size contract. Could I see them releasing him in order to free it up if something else came along? Yeah. But if you're talking, if you're talking Cole Holcomb, you're talking Patrick Queen, you're talking Peyton Wilson, then you're talking if Landon Roberts gets back, signs back into the mix and stuff, even his depth there. If this was any other year where the Steelers didn't have a crap load of tons of cap space, I would expect someone like a Cole Holcomb to have been released. They don't have to do that this year.
Yeah, they could roll the dice with it if they wanted to.
They still could, but they definitely don't even have to do it ahead of everything. It might be how free agency goes if they get a really big ticket person and then they need some more space. So, but it's good to know that he's an option.
Could just throw this out there to the guy that runs the numbers all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Could you extend him a year and do one of those fun deals to mess with the number?
You could. Yeah. You definitely could. Because think, they messed with the number last year.
Yes.
To keep him, they offered him the same contract, but it was they converted it into a split contract, which is if you're not on the 53-man roster, you don't make as much. That's how minimum deals work. That's how, a lot of things in rookie contracts, unless you're in the first few rounds, that's how a lot of those work. You don't get paid as much if you're on IR, or, when I say on the 53-man roster, you're not talking practice squad. You're talking IR or PUP for that reason. Usually you don't get those in bigger contracts, but they did that. That saved the Steelers money, but they fully guaranteed the money that wasn't split. So that meant he was going to get to pay it. And so he knew he wasn't going to get released. So he was going to be able to stick around and everything else. So that kind of was better for him. He still made over half of what he was supposed to make. And when you think of it that way, you kind of got some relief from him last year. So it's not so bad if there's some this year and everything. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what goes on with him. Because that could go any number of ways.
What percent will he be of what he was before?
Correct.
Yeah, that's really what it comes out to. And they have by having him practice, they have a much better idea than what we do.
Yep,
so
exactly.
It would make sense for them to do what they think. All right, next, these are quicker ones. Okay, this is another one from Brooke Pryor. Omar Kahn says that it is a safe assumption. Quotes, safe assumption that Broderick Jones will start the offseason at left tackle. Doesn't mean he's the starter. He didn't say starter, but start the offseason working at left tackle. So making the switch over. Honestly, the reason he was right tackle last year is because Fa'atanu got hurt. He was going to be the swing guy. So for those of you that are like, get him to the left side, I say don't expect that to be a magic cure-all, but it could be. He did play well the one start he had on the left side in his first start of his NFL career. So to me, Broderick Jones comes down to how much is he going to work in the offseason? And work is not just physical. it's also mental.
I was going to say,
How?
you were saying that, and I was about to say, has as much to do with what's in between the ears as the rest of it.
Yes. So you got to come in good physical shape and in good mental shape. Know what's going on. So at least to me, did you look at that as good news?
I don't know about if I'd say good news, but again, this wasn't a big surprise.
Yeah. So to me, that's saying a lot about it. Hey, he's moving to the left side. There, it's confirmed. But you didn't say he's going to be the starter or anything like that,
Right.
because without really. So that's saying a lot while still saying nothing. So, and then he would start the offseason at left tackle.
Yes.
For all you know, in training camp, he could get popped back to right. You always want to, and it's funny, I'm going to say always. I don't like to speak in absolutes, but you always want to leave yourself an out. You don't want to speak in absolutes, because chances are when you do, you're going to probably say something that's false. So you could say, Dave, you always start every show saying Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Like, you know what? That's not true. I've messed it up once or twice. So, yeah, I usually do. All right, go ahead, Rich.
You talked so long, I lost my train of thought. Go on.
He made me lose my train of thought. Okay. Remember, throw out those suggestions for our 5 minutes of non-Steelers talk. We don't want to have to do it by default. We'd like to have some options. We'd like to have some choice. All right. Another one. This is one that's interesting. That'll get some Steelers fans feeling one way or the other. This one comes from Ray Fittipaldo. Kahn said he's confident and hopeful TJ Watt will be like Hines Ward and Troy Polamalu and finish his career with the Steelers. Watt is entering the final year of his deal. What do you think of that, bro?
Let me just say this. If I'm TJ Watt, I'm smiling like a butcher's dog.
Up to 5.
Because that's exactly what you want to hear if you're TJ Watt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did it say everything? No. It did not. But it was a nice setup. You know what I mean? It's like, if I'm TJ Watt, I'm like, okay, the chances of good things coming out of that are way better than not good things from TJ Watt's end.
Yeah.
So
So
that's why you'd be smiling like a butcher's dog.
Yeah. So in other words, it should, you got to work it out. And see, to me, like some people were saying, Jeff Hartman did an article for the website. He was talking about highlights of this, high points of the season. A lot was talking specifically players. He did an offensive one, then he did one that was defense and special teams. Obviously, special teams is pretty good. And he mentioned some defensive players, and someone in the comments said, well, where's TJ Watt? My goodness, he led the team in this. He was the team MVP. He did this, he did that. And I said, I don't want to speak for Jeff, but Jeff's probably thinking, and then Jeff chimed in and said that he was. He didn't have a great season when you're comparing him to the standard of TJ Watt. So I also say now might not be a bad time, because maybe, you want to buy low, sell high. This could maybe be, or is TJ Watt going to continue to get lower, or was this maybe one of the lower things that we saw from TJ Watt? I don't know. That's why I still think last year the Steelers did a nice job. They bought low with Cam Hayward coming off the injury, and it really paid off. Anything else about TJ Watt? Are you ready to close these up here real soon?
Let's go ahead and close this up.
Got 2 left, real quick, and
Okay.
and I gotta find the one. Come on, where did it go? I lost it. Oh, there we go. Got it. Nick Faribault. When asked if Keanu Benton will stay at nose tackle or play further out more often next year, Omar Kahn says the Steelers believe Benton can play up and down the line, so the options for them are open.
Yeah, that's not saying much.
That's not saying much. No. So in other words, he's saying, Is it saying could the Steelers draft a nose tackle or find a nose tackle in free agency? They could. Could the Steelers release Larry Ogunjobi so Benton fills in out there? Yep, they could. Could the Steelers go with the same 3 defensive linemen as they did last year? Yeah, they could. Yeah, that was saying not much. Agreed?
Agreed.
Anything else you want to say on that one?
Nope.
Last but not least, one more from Nick Faribault. Omar Kahn said he was impressed by Mason McCormick. It was awesome. Mason came in as a small school guy, and when he came in, this was not too big for him. I loved his progression, and I think the future is bright for him. I'm waiting for you to say anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, were you? I was like, what were you wanting? Just wanting a reaction on that, or what?
Oh, no. So, do you think did he say a lot, or did he really say nothing? Or both?
He said some. Was that a reiteration? Did he just give us a reiteration of a Mike Tomlinism?
Of what? It was not too big for him. Something like that.
Yeah. That whole.
Kinda sounds like
He came in, did what he needed to do. The situation wasn't too big. He did
down his leg.
Yep. Exactly. So.
Yeah. So, and now I'll be honest with you. Mason McCormick did a nice job filling in for the Steelers as a small school rookie, 4th round draft pick, being thrust out there because of injury and beating out Spencer Anderson. It wasn't like it was just handed to him by default. There was still 2 guys fighting for it, and he did a nice job. Was he great? No. I still think a lot of what he's being judged by is in the context of he was a 4th round draft pick out of FCS. Okay. And that's fine. That's good. But you know what? I don't think that's going to last. I think first year is really all you think about with that. It's kind of like Dan Moore Jr. Dan Moore Jr. stepped in and ended up with the starting as left tackle to start his NFL career as a rookie. He was a 4th round draft pick. So the expectation was maybe he can hold it down. By the end of it, people were like, oh, you got to just get rid of Dan Moore, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, he's always been upgradable. He's always been at a position where he's upgradable. So I also wouldn't say that if the thought is that right now you would have Mason McCormick as your starter based on what you have right now, that he still wouldn't be upgradable. But I could also see him, even if you bring in someone better, him getting good enough to take over. So to me, he did a nice job as a 4th round rookie out of an FCS school. But next year, we're not going to talk about him being 4th round and out of an FCS school.
Right.
There's going to be higher expectations for him.
Yes.
So, yeah. So that's funny. Afton said he didn't kill us. Yeah. So yeah, and that was the biggest thing is that he didn't seem like he was a liability. It's not like he was. Oh, he was hilarious watching him with the celebrations and everything too. So that's all I have, unless there was anything that I missed that I missed.
No, not that I know of. I think you caught the things I remember from reading here and there today. So
Yep. So, all right. So we're going to do five minutes of us. Someone had one earlier about concerts, but I think we did that one last year. I had one here that I'm going to do. Someone said pizza. I think we did that one last year too. So I'm actually going to do this one. I don't know that we did this one or not. Maybe we did, but I don't remember. Okay. And it's okay if we do ones that we did last year, but the longer we go until we do them again, that's fine. George T says non-football talk. What cartoon character still cracks you up?
Hold on. This is going to take me a second because I'm a cartoon guy. I still love cartoons.
I love cartoons.
And I use cartoon references all the time, especially in my job. I can't. But who still really cracks me up? Oh, you know what? I know this one.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not one character; it's three.
Okay.
Okay.
I know what it is. The first two rhyme,
Yes.
don't they?
Yes.
I know it's actually going to say.
But it's tough for me to make the last rhyme because if you remember the one episode, the giant tells you that it doesn't rhyme with dot
Yes. Would you
So,
like to win
yeah.
Would you like to win the dash of salt?
on the San Andreas Fault, and
Yeah.
that would be for me as the Animaniacs. It's probably to me the cartoon that has just always cartoon series that just always cracked me up. Still watch it. Actually, still I have season 2 on DVD of the Animaniacs. That's how
Really?
much I like the Animaniacs.
But that was for you, that was high school, college,
yes,
right? So that was, you could appreciate, you could appreciate that pretty well. Cartoon that still cracks me up, okay? You got to go with the classic. My youngest son loves Looney Tunes. So a lot of the stuff, and whether it's the classic characters or whether it's not, gotta be cracked up by Looney Tunes. When I stopped cable and went to just streaming, I lost Boomerang, which was classic cartoons.
yeah.
But I also lost the History Channel. But I found another streaming service that I now get a History Channel, something else, and now I get another channel. It's MeTV Tunes, and it's got some good classic cartoons. Scooby Doo was always great.
That was always one of my favorite. That's always one of my go-to cartoons. Is always Scooby Doo. But you're talking about what cartoon still really cracks me up. For me, that's why I had to go with the Animaniacs, because Beethoven was a world famous pianist. Do you kiss your mother with that mouth? It's good night, everybody.
They're like, all right, are you clear? Actually, we're a pick.
Yes.
Things like that. Those kind of ones. Those I still like. I mean, I have some Looney Tunes on DVD and things like that.
Can I bring a couple of things up? Folks are saying in live chat just because it's fun. Okay, so Ashton put down Homer Simpson, but see, to me, Homer Simpson might be kind of funny, but to me, every time I hear Homer Simpson, all I can think about is that stupid ESPN commercial with Kenny Mayne where he's trying to come up with baseball calls, and he's like, it must be a Homer Simpson. The pitcher just went, dope.
Yeah. So there's some people are saying Pinky and the Brain, which is part of Animaniacs.
Yep.
You got to remember that. That came from it. Animaniacs is the one that sort of cracks me up. Some people said Ren and Stimpy. I never watched Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, see, to me,
Didn't watch SpongeBob.
They were
I know
a
you guys
different
watch
kind of
SpongeBob.
funny.
Never watched SpongeBob.
Although, come on, Dave, it's got to be Eric Cartman.
Yeah. I'm sailing away.
I still crack Kyle up by singing, the Eric Cartman version of Lady Gaga's Poker Face.
Oh.
Poker face, poker face.
I still, my favorite is when they did the shock therapy because that was college when that was out. The shock therapy of singing "Oh Holy Night." It is the night with the Christmas trees and pie. Because he couldn't get the words right. Those are pretty funny. I'll be honest with you. Some people are. You could talk about.
George T. I agree.
Oh, yes.
Muttley's laugh still gets me too.
Yeah. Oh, I imitated a lot. Yeah.
If you're going, you're going back to classic
Muttley. And if you don't know who Muttley is, when they did the more recent cartoon movie Scoob, he was in that. They had Muttley and Dirk Dastardly, but some of the classic. I mean, I still like the classic Hanna-Barbera. Some of the the Yogi Bear. Some of those good ones. What's it? Heavens to Murgatroyd. Huckleberry Hound. Yeah. Those are pretty good. And I will be honest with you. Some people might want to say it because you're older, you're whatnot. If you want, to me, what hits cartoons great is when kids can enjoy them and laugh, and
adults
can enjoy them and laugh. So
I agree with David Poe. You can say there's a Beavis, but I love Beavis and Butthead.
I never, because you were in college. We didn't even have MTV. I couldn't see Beavis and Butthead, so I never really got into that one. But I will tell you this: if you want a cartoon now that you think that if you have kids that you can appreciate, and you also as an adult can appreciate. I know your daughter, who is getting her master's in college right now, really appreciates this cartoon. I actually wore this shirt on the preview on Thursday. I don't think anyone noticed.
I feel good. I feel so good at dancing.
Believe it or not, if you watch Bluey, which is an Australian cartoon, although Marky D would be so upset by it, it actually has a lot of good humor for parents. Like the dad is just hilarious. So if you've never watched it, I'm sorry, but I mean, sometimes a lot of cartoons that I like, I know our time's up. A lot of the cartoons I like, though, isn't as much as being funny. My favorite cartoons are like Super Friends, X-Men '97, which I did watch, where they added another season last year to the old class. That was one of the best cartoon series. Not funny.
Dave,
okay.
Wrap it up, or I'm going to beat you like a rented mule.
There you go. So just say there are some good cartoons out there that aren't of the funny kind. It's funny because Marky D, I kept telling Marky D last time we talked, he needed to watch Bluey. You need to watch it. Oh, that people were even throwing out there Popeye. That's some pretty good ones too. All right, let's get to our big question, Rich. Here's our big question. It's can't really go as much with what we're doing there. We're still more than a week away from the beginning of free agency. The Steelers signed a tight end last week. Here's my question to you, and this might even be a repeat question, but it still works right now where we are. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to answer, and then I'll put it out there for everybody else.
Okay.
You can be as general or as specific. I'm going to get pretty specific. General as specific as you want. What's the Steelers' next move? The next time that we hear about the Steelers adding a player, what or who is it going to be?
Now, see, I could get into talking to Dave here, but I'm going to talk about I'm going to look at this as a move, as a serious move.
Okay.
Okay. Not a signing of a third or fourth string tight end.
Signing someone that was on someone else's practice squad 2 years ago. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I'm talking about a real move. And I am taking the low-hanging fruit that Omar Kahn left us and saying that it's got to be the quarterback, because that plays such a role in what you can do in other positions. It's going to have to be a move somewhere at the quarterback position.
You going to go out on a limb and be specific?
I can be.
If you want to, you don't have to. I'm just giving you the chance.
No, I will. When I say when I get specific, I'll say what I would like to see, and what I would like to see is the re-signing of Fields.
Yeah, that. If I was going to go that route, that's the way I'm going to go. I'm going to go off script a little bit. You ready?
Okay.
I think the Steelers, maybe ahead of free agency, sign somebody who they know would like to come back, and they don't mind having back, and it's not going to be all that expensive. The next thing that we're going to hear, I'll take a shot. Steelers sign Landon Roberts.
Okay. I can
Just
see that
have
one too.
that. Okay. I'm going to open this up to the live chat now to see what you all think the Steelers' next move is going to be. And sorry, Doug P., you jumped the gun. Okay.
So gotta come back around.
TD Tom Dessenberger says quarterback. Didn't go specific. Just said quarterback. I'm okay with that. Okay. Steel Dog 88 says quarterback, signing of Fields. Afton says quarterback. Doug P. put it back in there. Good job, Doug. He thinks corner. So in other words, if you're saying corner, you're either thinking that they're signing somebody like a Dante Jackson back, or that we're not going to get anything ahead of when the legal tampering period happens. Yeah. Kathy says she's hoping that it's sign Hines Ward as a coach. She didn't say it's a coach, but I know what she was meaning. Okay. Here you go. Kevin Brokenborough says they're going to sign Najee Harris. Okay. Rob King says quarterback. This is what I probably should have gone with. Marky D, Steelers Nation Australia says Steelers sign Warren. Now, do we count if they offer him the tender, or does he have to sign it in order for them to for that to count as the next one?
Yeah, what you say there, Marky D? But give us,
Yeah. So is it just offer him the tender or he actually gets signed, whether it's the tender or another contract? Okay. Reginald Rivers says quarterback. Okay. So yeah, that they will lock that in at a time. And for those of you that didn't put a name, that's fine. You didn't have to be specific. So right now, that's all we have because we were running over a little bit tonight. So maybe as some more come in, I'll bring them up. But until then, I'll remind you all to make sure you're checking out all of our podcasts here at Steel Curtain Network. We're still continuing to bring you the live shows. Don't forget that Q&A is on Sunday evenings now. That's where you can look for it. So you've got something on YouTube every night except for Saturday. You can enjoy your Saturday nights. It's funny. Marky D says he's the next big news sign. He said sign. Sorry. He says, or sign anyone. I'm bored. So speaking of Marky D, you can catch his show. It was on today at 11 a.m. If you haven't caught that yet, it's still there for the next probably hour or so as the top podcast on Steel Curtain Network until this one ends up on the audio side. If you're with us here live. And make sure you check it out, steelcurtainnetwork.com. Man, the discussions have really picked up. The comment section has been a whole lot of fun. I find myself checking it way more often because of a lot of the stuff going on there. Let's see. Mr. Woodside gives us a progression of QB, running back, then D-line. That's what they have. But remember, this could be before actual free agency. I like David Poe that says sign Marky D, which we did. That's why he had his podcast on last week.
That's right.
Yeah. So there we are. With that, Rich, although we're running a little bit over tonight, what do you have to close us up here tonight?
Well, Dave, we are getting closer. Okay. We've, I feel like we've talked about this awful, terrible dead period, Super Bowl to the opening of free agency. But honestly, if you just want to go Super Bowl to the combine, because at least you start to get some different news and stuff coming out of the combine, we're coming up there. So that's a good thing. Otherwise we're busy watching hockey, and you can call me Slick from Turtle Creek. So,
6 or 7. I've missed it. Okay.
Look, we're still trying to bring some good content. I've been listening to some more podcasts in the last week than I've been able to get to before. By the way, Marky D, thank you. Kyle and I tend to listen to your podcast together in my office every week.
There you go.
Something about that Australian accent can be kind of soothing, right, Kyle? Oh, yeah. So, but Dave, you were talking about the fact that you're going on location next week, and then but by the following week when you're back, we're technically into the tampering period, and
we're talking about new players. I know.
It's kind of crazy that we're getting there now. As we saw from folks talking about stuff out there tonight, is there still a lot of that, a lot we need to know, a lot we'd like to know that we don't know yet, and things like that. But just the fact that we're getting closer and closer to start getting some of those answers already is almost mind blowing to me. Stick with us. We're going to cover all that stuff. Are we going to, but here's the big thing. Are we going to like it all? No, we're not. And honestly, I don't remember if I said this last year or if I just talked to you about it, Dave. And that is, we're going to have to be okay as a fan base that we're not going to like every move that's made. It's not going to be what we would want or the way we would do it.
Exactly.
We don't have to like all of them. That's okay. But hopefully you're going to like a lot of them. And hopefully the ones that you don't like, you can at least try to understand why some of the moves were made that were made. And then what we'll do is we'll spend our time here as a group kind of analyzing and talking about them. And again, we're not all going to agree on the signings either. Like what you and I, Dave, might say is a great signing, there are going to be folks in our live chat that don't like it. It's all right. It's okay. Different people have different reasons for liking and not liking some of these players. In the end, though, what we do have to remember, and Dave, you bring this up, is that we should all, once they are putting on that black and gold jersey, be pulling for them one way or the other because they're a Pittsburgh Steeler. And I'll just wrap it up this week by reminding people that Elvis has just left the building. Can't wait.
Relax.